Hello, everyone. Today is October 16th, and we're doing business and security stories here on the L1 show with your buddies, with your links to share.
With your other buddies.
With your other buddies. We're a very social bunch here.
No, the two can never cross over, though.
Yeah, that Venn diagram is just two circles.
Unless they come here. Don't invite us to their parties. Invite them to ours. And Samsung is apologizing. This is an interesting thing about, like some of the Asian cultures. They if they tell you that they're going to perform a certain way, they expect to perform that way. If they tell you they're going to be on time, you're expected to be on time. And even though this number sounds really good, they're very sorry.
Samsung apologizes for making just $6.8 billion with a B last quarter. I think they were $100 million under what they projected.
900 million. Which is another big number.
I can't even conceptualize that kind of money, but...
So they are doing fairly well, especially with the economic downturn globally, but they didn't meet those expectations, so they have to... What's it called when you strap yourself with a flagellation?
I was going to say flay, and I was like, that's not right. That's like when you rip your skin off.
No, that's what they do.
Oh.
Yeah. It's part of one of those crazy Catholic offshoots. You never heard of that?
Well, I mean, I've heard the word, but I didn't know that was like
related. Was No Country for Old Men? You ever see that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you got to check that out.
Is that the one with the milkshake thing? I've seen that clip. I drink your milkshake. Is that No Country for Old Men? What is that from? I don't watch
There
movies.
Will Be Blood.
Oh, okay.
It has nothing to do with any of this. But this has a company that for a long time people have been saying, hey, I think that I'm not being treated fairly because I'm an American worker and they know that they have to pay me more and take care of me versus a foreign worker that they could just bring in who's going to be happy with whatever they give them. And a lot of companies are like, you're crazy. We would never do that. That's discrimination. But then there was a court case.
Cognizant faces legal setback. U.S. court finds company discriminated towards non-Indian workers.
This on the heels of the last time they lost one of these discriminatory battles, the same company, for non-Asian workers. So they literally just went to another Asian country.
Yeah.
Got themselves some cheap workers.
It's H-1B workers, people who can work for usually quite a bit less money.
And Cognizant, maybe surprisingly, maybe not, the number one H-1B hirer in the United States. Or was this in Canada? I think it was a U.S. jury. Yes, it was in the United States.
Yeah, because they mentioned American workers.
And things are bad, but they are not bad for artificial intelligence. That is in a bubble, probably. So I believe that it's lifting all numbers.
Global semiconductor sales up to 20.6% to record... Why can't I read right now? To record $53.1 billion as trade wars rage on.
So, yeah.
It's record, not record.
The average consumer is not buying these things, but they are being bought, and it all counts toward the total. So as we go into AI conquering the world, we have to keep making these chips for it. Right now, it's voluntary. Maybe not forever. And if you're looking to build a new PC right now, some of the more recent CPU offerings have been a little disappointing. Maybe not setting the world on fire, maybe not a big reason to upgrade. But Intel says they have a big reason now, but it's not clock speeds, it's not performance. No, that's not what they're banking on.
Intel's Arrow Lake CPU offered parity performance at half the power.
So they actually... in their benchmarks here, you can go on this PC World article and check them out. And they admit, some of these benchmarks, some of these gaming benchmarks, they've gone down since the 14900. Yes, we're losing ground here, but we're doing it at half the power and much less heat.
I mean, I guess that's something.
If you're in one of the Carolinas running off a generator?
Yeah, I guess that is probably. In the new horrible world we live in, less power consumption probably is ideal.
So, that's good, I guess. But if you're...
a good marketing company could make that into like, this is an eco-friendly CPU.
Oh, I'm sure they are. Right?
Yeah.
Sure, that's a big part of it. And those electricity prices, you're going to expect them to go up, right? Because AI is now competing with humans for resources.
My husband and I are seriously considering, like, maybe we should do solar the next couple of years just because our electric bills are already crazy where we are.
You don't want to do it right now.
Why?
Because solar and generators are sold out everywhere.
Oh, right,
You cannot
yeah.
touch them.
We can't do that right now. It'll be probably, like I said, a year or two, but not during hurricane season.
But Intel was not the only one that had a big release this week. This one is from AMD, but this is not the consumer grade stuff. This is the big ones that go in those AI data centers.
AMD launches AI chip to rival Nvidia's Blackwell.
You're going to love the name of this one, Krista. The MI325X.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. We'll get demonetized. But I hate hardware names that are like that. I'm like, who? Why?
Blackwell is a better name
Yeah.
than the MI365X. The MI or 325, and then there's going to be the MI350 and the MI375 as we go.
I'm sure there's a reason they do that. It's just it's just
yeah, because they make lots and lots and lots of different
variations,
stuff.
right?
And all those numbers mean something, and they change it from once in a while. That's the whole thing. I think some people like that layer of obfuscation.
Yeah.
Because it's like, ooh, I have secret knowledge.
I know people are like that in the backpacking community with certain like backpacks and like technical jargon, and it's like, just say it's this super light fabric. Like, you don't need to mention 20 different names for it.
Oh, I do.
No.
Because you need to understand how deep I am into this and how much I know.
How weird I am about this.
The big thing here that they are touting is like one of the problems that you're going to have is everybody's already running NVIDIA stuff. Mm. So it's like, hey, man, we can't just unplug and plug into your stuff. And AMD is saying, no, we're going to build tools that are going to make that super easy. Don't worry. We'll see if that's true.
Yeah, competition's good.
And new products from Apple, they've really been slowing down their release cycle. They're now saying annual phones, we're not going to bother anymore.
Aren't they actually going to do it faster, though? So the clickbait headline implied that they were doing less, but they're actually doing more.
I don't know. I didn't read that story because I just so don't care about iPhones.
Yeah.
Well, they do have something new coming out, but it's not supposed to be out yet.
Unreleased M4 MacBook Pro offered for sale on Russian site as leaks appear to be real.
So they were selling this for $7,000.
What is this? What is this site? I've never seen this site. I guess it's a Russian only, but
Oh, the one in the screenshot?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it got taken down, so that sale is not going to take place. And but they are saying it's probably real. Based on the specs and the pictures, they're saying, yeah, that thing might have gotten out in the wild. But how did it get to Russia?
that's a good question. You're getting a lot of emails.
It's Teams.
Look at you. He's not even got a case on his phone.
Oh, no, I don't know phone cases.
I'm always terrified I don't drop my phone a whole lot, but when I do, I'm terrified I'll crack
I've
it.
never damaged one.
Really?
Never
I haven't
lost
either,
one.
I don't think either, but I just live in fear, you know?
You got to let it go.
This is someone else's problem if this cracks and destroys.
Well, speaking of valuable hardware that you wouldn't want to risk, here's one that everybody's going to want, right?
Nintendo announces new game hardware, an alarm clock. I want all of you in the chat right now to take a guess, like just in your head, how much is this going to cost? Are you thinking like, oh, like $50? Maybe like $75?
$50 would be absurd for a clock, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it's $99.99. $100 for this little alarm clock.
So what's it going to do? Well, it's going to do what every other alarm clock does, right? Except it's going to make Nintendo noises instead. It's also going to have some features that do like...
It plays like calming music.
Wake me up slowly, put me to sleep. You could probably get the same function without Mario voice from Sharper Image for like $50, and even that is overpriced.
You can just do it with your phone. Your phone you can do custom sounds on your phone.
Oh, I didn't think about that. And I'm sure if you wanted a standalone alarm clock, Temu, you could probably get one for like $6.
I watched the video. It's like a little 4-minute video about it, and I was just like, who is this for? What's interesting is I read the comments on this Polygon article, and there were several people who were like, I would be interested in this, but only if it was like $50 or $40. And I'm like, I don't, even that is too much for me, but.
A lot of people collect Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, I guess.
So I guess that would be Maybe your
it
kids.
is a collectible.
It's like, oh, we're doing a Mario themed room for our children. We have to have this.
Except, like, will that continue to work in a few years? Like, probably not, right? It's not like a regular alarm clock where it's like, this will work as long as you can plug it in forever.
As long as you have a Nintendo Switch Online account.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Like, I remember I used my mom's alarm clock that she used in the 70s growing up. Like, we just used the same one for years.
And you would think if you're selling a clock for $100, you'd be trying to get as many out the door as you can, right? But no, you can't even buy it yet unless you're on the Switch store. You have to be a member. It's going to be released to retail stores for the holiday season.
Some people, I guess, have more money than sense. I don't know.
And some companies have enough goodwill that they don't mind just throwing it in the trash.
Nintendo Switch modder who refused to shut down now takes to court against Nintendo without a lawyer. Single player.
It's not going to be good for him.
No.
Not at all. This fella is selling consoles that are already modded. Nintendo argues that it's impossible to do that without breaking encryption on another console to get that file that you need, which is true. They're also accusing him of preloading them with games. I don't know if that's true or not. His defense is, I don't know who you people think I am, but I'm not that guy. He says it's not his website. He's not selling them. He's not involved.
I don't know if that's going to work out, but
He's up against a bit of a stacked deck, I would think.
if there's any lawyers I fear, it's Nintendo's and Disney's.
Right. And it's not going to be one. It's going to be a massive team. And they're going to drown him in paperwork.
Yeah.
And California police are apparently drowning in stuff because they don't have any room to store it, including themselves, because they have purchased cars that are not large enough to be police cars.
Nearly unusable. California police majorly push back on Tesla cop cars.
So we got two.
There's pictures in here,
There's no pictures of the cop. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Two different police organizations in California have gotten Teslas. They all say the same thing. We can't reliably keep them charged. He mentioned sometimes we have to go to Texas for extraditions. We would have to sit for hours with a prisoner to wait for it to charge midway.
Ooh.
Apparently, the Teslas, these are Model 3s, I think. I think one had Model 3s and one had Model Ys. The cockpit, the front seat, when you're wearing all of your police gear, you can't get in and out. Because it's like a sleek sports car build. The back seat is so small, one prisoner. You can have one prisoner.
So inefficient. They're going to not like that. Luxuries.
And the passenger seat is basically useless. Although I think that's true in most police cars. Usually they just have their computer and stuff over there.
Yeah.
But they're saying that they were so disappointed in them that they're only using them for the administrative staff, not the rank and file cops. Although you have to question, like, maybe did the administrative staff want a nice car to drive around?
I kind of laughed at this comment in the article where they were like, well, normally if we were in like a shootout, we're trained to hide behind the engine block and stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Although the wheel wells, I think, are also a secondary.
Well, in my PUBG experience in video games, you never want to hide behind your car because you can shoot the car and then the car explodes.
Obviously, yeah.
Obviously,
especially
that's how that works,
an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
Where there's no gasoline inside of it. Now, there was another police department, and they were interviewed, and they said, yeah, we didn't go the Tesla route. We went the F-150 Lightning, and we love them.
That is great. You have to be. What do you carry in the back? What's the truck bed for? Just throw some prisoners back there, chain them to the truck.
You fill that up with drug parcels so that you can plant them on your victims.
Yeah. I mean, that probably does fit a lot better because it's bigger, but it's like, what do you need the truck part for? Seems like there's a gap in the market. We need an SUV, an electric SUV. I'm sure that exists.
They should convert them into those, those like Japanese pod hotels.
Oh, you just have a couple of those in the back.
Put your prisoners back there in cages.
Oh.
And Fisker is an electric vehicle company who has run into the the people souring on electric vehicles in general, and they did not have a backup plan. So they're done, and they have to liquidate. But they've made some very weird choices.
Fisker bankruptcy hits major speed bump as fleet sale is now in question. And it's just because they can't transfer
the database.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, I couldn't understand like what was I understood the general, but it's like what happened here that you couldn't do that?
Another company wants the vehicles that have been leased. So the American lease, they're going to take over the leases. But they're like, yeah, we need the customer information. And somehow Fisker can't figure out how to give it to them. It makes no sense.
Like, too, the reason, like, we're seeing this now, but it's probably been ongoing for weeks, where, like, the first time they requested it, someone was probably like, oh, we can't do that. No. And then it just got dumber and dumber until it finally broke out in the media.
It's worse than that, because they needed the money from this lease company to roll. They didn't have anything.
Right.
So they needed that money to actually unwind all of the Chapter 11 stuff. So they took the money, and they're like, yeah, we'll get that to you. And then after they spent the money unwinding the Chapter 11 stuff, they're like, oh, hey, guys, just fire off a quick email here. We can't do that, even though it makes no sense that we can't do that.
Well, so I'm imagining anybody on the buyer side is having a moment where they emailed them multiple times trying to figure out what the problem was, and they just kept delaying. That's what I'm imagining.
Per my last email.
I still need the same thing I asked you the first time.
And Windows has screwed up an update. Boy, that's a shocker.
Windows 11's big 2024 update leaves behind 9 of undeletable files due to a bug.
They've confirmed it, and they have said, we'll get that one with the next one, guys. Just hang on to those 9 gigs of files in the meantime. And Roblox, I'm always shocked at how powerful Roblox is. They say they got all these users, they got all this revenue. It's a juggernaut that you wouldn't think. But are they maybe faking some of that?
Roblox accused of lying to investors about user numbers by Hindenburg Research. Up to 25 to 45% inflation of user count.
And they say that there's some really bad stuff floating around on Roblox, which is weird because it's supposed to be all kids. And it's the kind of stuff that you definitely don't want kids to be a part of.
This is why kid internet will never work, because there will always be someone who tries to get on it.
Hindenburg is notorious for short selling and then releasing their research in order to drive down the price of a stock. But in one of their very recent ones, that CEO is now in prison because they were right. And they won big on that.
I feel like, this doesn't make it better in Roblox, but I feel like all of this is the dead internet theory where it feels like all of the user metrics are just made up a lot of times. Like, oh, we have so many players all the time. Like, we have so many people watching our show all the time. It's like, I just don't know.
Yeah. They notoriously lie about all that stuff. Like the ISPs.
Yeah.
If you can be serviced in their area, they're like, yeah, we'll count them.
But it's like, well, you won't run it to my actual house. You stop like half a mile up the road.
The satellite radio, Sirius.
Yeah.
They count the cars on the lots being sold. Because technically,
oh yeah,
they have the free demo.
Yeah, we got the letter recently that was like, "Do you guys want to renew?" And it's like we haven't been using that at all.
We'll never stop sending you those letters. And we talk a lot about backdoors on this program, especially when we look at Australia and United Kingdom, and of course America has made these threats. They say we need a way for just the government, just the good guys, to look at everything. And we'll make that secure. And the question is always, how? Because by definition, it will be insecure if you do this. And they're like, no. We'll do it. Don't worry. We don't have an answer for you right now. But we're going to do it because there is a good way to do it. Well, they did it.
Chinese hack of U.S. ISP shows why Apple is right about backdoors for law enforcement. Now, this is 9 to 5 Mac, so they're a little biased. There's a little bit of bias in the writing here, but
we didn't need the Apple in this headline.
No, there was no Apple connection here at all. This was just like, Apple's right. And they are. A broken clock is right twice a day. They were right.
So this is most of the big AT&T, Lumen, and Verizon all quietly had law enforcement backdoors built into their ISP infrastructure. So if law enforcement wanted it, they could observe whatever you had. And Chinese hackers figured that out.
Oh, who could have foreseen this terrible sequence of events? Oh,
Literally,
it was literally everyone.
Literally no one could ever think about this. So a lot of people are pointing out, we told you so.
Yeah.
Although, doesn't make it any better, does it? Still got the Chinese observing all of your ISP traffic. Maybe worse. And here was a terrible story, and I got some conspiracy vibes going on here. I feel like a little bit, don't you?
I was confused about the reasoning for this.
Exactly.
Attack. Internet Archive hacked, data breach impacts 31 million users.
So we had, at first, we were told a DDoS and a breach.
Right.
Unrelated. Which is like, well, that's a hell of a coincidence.
Yeah, the same day, yeah.
Then we get
Occam's razor.
Then we get this.
Activists claim responsibility for taking down the Internet Archive.
Which would be a pro-Palestinian.
And they said that they're like, oh, it's an American company, and that's why we're doing it. I was like, well, that's kind of flimsy.
But if you're pro-Palestinian, I understand your anger at America, but you'd be angry at the American government, right?
Yeah, why would you go for the Internet? That's what I like. Why the Internet Archive?
I would say the American government would have a vested interest in not having the Internet Archive, right?
Yeah.
Like they would actually benefit from this.
This is cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Because the Internet Archive regularly calls them out for trying to memory hole things and creates a ledger that holds them accountable for the things they said. Not really, but at least you can go back and convince yourself you're not insane.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I don't understand why a pro-Palestinian hacker would target them, how they would benefit from that. This doesn't make
any sense. Yeah, I was like, maybe I'm missing some nuance here, and I like reread it, and I was like, why?
But if you had an account, you did get breached. So change your password. Hope that it doesn't affect you, even though it probably will. And there's a breach, but one that we are not quite sure about. However, the evidence is really piling up that there's something nefarious going on over at FedEx and AT&T.
Porch pirates are stealing AT&T iPhones delivered by FedEx. The weirdest part of this story was like, AT&T was like, it's not a breach, like, but it's like, well, then how are they knowing it's like when it's showing up? There is some security footage in this where like people literally show up at the exact same time as the delivery driver because they know down to the moment when it's getting delivered.
I started seeing these recently, when, it was the Ring doorbell videos, and sometimes the actual FedEx driver will turn around and be like, what? Because they'll put on the vest and stuff.
Yeah.
And pretend to be.
And they and then they grab it.
And they know to the minute when it's about to be delivered. So somehow they're getting these tracking numbers and just stalking the FedEx driver and picking. It's always iPhones from AT&T.
Yeah, but it's not a data breach. There's nothing wrong with our tracking system, says AT&T.
Maybe it's at FedEx, but
why would it just be iPhones from AT&T?
You would have to have some really high level stuff to filter that down, right?
Yeah.
And that's wherever it is, it's not good. So be careful about buying your iPhones online, especially from AT&T. And here we have just the parade of breaches.
MoneyGram says hackers stole customers' personal information and transaction data.
And
I've never heard of MoneyGram before.
It's like Western Union.
Oh, okay.
It's like send money overseas and stuff like that, or to whoever. If you were, because sometimes these services, they got that know your customer thing.
Yeah.
They require more information. So if you had to give them a driver's license, well, guess what? That was also breached. Not good. And here we have a clumsy attempt, but one that attacked one of the more popular companies right now.
OpenAI says China-linked group tried to phish its employees.
They caught it. Their internal systems were good enough to identify the files being sent were malicious.
Oh.
And this one, really, really alarming, not only because of what we're talking about, but for how long it was there before anybody noticed.
American Water warns of billing outages after finding hackers in its systems.
So they claim the water's fine, don't worry.
Yeah, we're definitely not worried about how we're keeping it safe for everybody to drink.
But they have disconnected the billing system from the water system. Why was it ever connected? And they say that that's going to disrupt the billing cycle, but you will not be charged a late fee. Don't sign any arbitration agreements with American Water.
I can't put in a well, too, and my solar system. That's too expensive.
You have to get a second job. And Comcast. It's the same old story.
It's Comcastic. About 250,000 Comcast subscribers had their data stolen from a debt collector.
So Comcast is very clear to point out, not us, not our fault.
It's our third-party contractor who we hired.
Gave all that data to. All that sensitive data, to get our little money that you're not paying us, we decided to give that all to somebody else. And we didn't really pay attention to how good they were at protecting it. Turns out they weren't. So, congratulations, Comcast users. And this one's terrifying because this is your money.
Fidelity says data breach exposed personal data of 77,000 customers.
Once again, this is the know your customer stuff. Remember, every time they're like, no, we need to get more and more information to prevent fraud and money laundering and stuff like that. Well,
all that information goes in a database that then gets leaked.
Yeah, so it doesn't really protect anybody, does it? August 19th. Terrifying. And here's something that you should all already know, but sometimes it's good for a reminder, and it seems that the normies are starting to get wise to this.
Smart TVs are like a, quote, digital Trojan horse in people's homes.
They're listening to your voice. They're training AI on your voice. They're putting ads and everything. One of the most horrific things here that they pointed out is that a lot of TV companies and production companies are working on personalized ads baked into the programming. So your favorite cop show character might walk into a business, and based on your ad profile, there'll be different items on display.
I hate the future. I hate it so much. I love it. I'm sure they'll find a way to do that too for like, where it's going to be anachronistic for like certain shows where it's like, this is a medieval fantasy. But then there's like a billboard for like Coca-Cola in the background.
There's a Starlink on the castle.
Yeah. There's a delicious Coca-Cola. Do I have the label?
It'll be like one of those old school alchemical flasks.
Yeah,
It'll be Coke branded.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's the world we live in.
So this was How TV Watches Us, this CDD, Center for Digital Democracy. They put out this big report, and they're like, you people have no idea what you've done. You've brought these TVs into your homes. They're spying on literally everything.
I mean, to be fair, so is your phone and your PC and your Nintendo alarm clock.
I put that in the robot section. Okay, never mind.
Oh,
we'll have to wait till Friday.
Similar story?
We have a security style story, but it's robot specific, so you have to check that out on Friday.
We will see you guys in that one.